Here is Marianne Williamson on Timcast, and they talk about book bans. By the way, damn, should I even say? Listen, I'm gonna say something. I don't know if I'm speaking out of school, okay, but I'm just gonna say it because at the end of the day, what does it matter? Few months ago, Marianne Williamson emailed me. She wasn't happy with me. She didn't like that I was. Actually, let me be accurate. Let me be accurate. What didn't she like? What exactly was it she didn't like? I don't want to misquote what she said. Marianne wrote to me and said, what did she say? I'm not going to read the email. I'm just going to be general. She basically said I misrepresented some of the things that I've belittled her. She said I've belittled her, and she hopes I won't do it. Okay, so I wrote back. I said, haven't meant to do that. And recently, her PR person pitched her to be a guest on the show, and we said, okay, let's do it. And the PR person said no. Marianne wrote to me, wasn't happy with the things I said and that we weren't covering her. The PR person says, hey, do you want to interview Marianne? We say, yes, we do. And she goes, oh, we're not going to do it. So I wrote back to Marianne and I said, listen, Marianne, we're trying to have you on. I'm trying to interview you. Your publicist said no. Okay, go figure. All right, let's listen to this discussion between Marianne and Tim Pool on book bans.
We have limited time, so I would like to move on to some other subjects and then definitely get into the area of the media, your polling. But one thing I did want to ask you about was your position on one of the big culture war issues in this country is in Florida, they announced that they would be barring certain books from curriculum that contained adult materials. This resulted in big headlines like this about, this is not the one. Orlando newspaper publishes spread of 673 books banned in Florida County in 2023. I was curious if you knew a lot about what was going on nationwide with the removal of certain books from school curriculum and what your thoughts were.
I'm very much against book banning. I think book banning is basically fascist behavior. Some of the books that are being banned, there'll be a suggestion of homosexual feelings, so they call it they call it pornographic and something children shouldn't read. I trust teachers and librarians, and I don't like the idea of the U.S. government or a state government telling librarians or teachers what they can teach.
You don't think we should have laws on like what about a Playboy? Like if a Playboy was in a grade school, would that be an issue?
A Playboy magazine?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a parent, I'd have a big problem with a Playboy magazine.
What if there was a book being given to middle schoolers that depicted giving blowjobs?
I would. Yeah. Well, okay. Once again, I wouldn't want my child to read that, and I definitely would be wanting to work on.
This is the book.
Okay, that's school board. That's not government, not the U.S. government, or I don't want the U.S. government and I don't want the state governor telling.
This is a little shaky, but there is a good point she's making.
Me, the books cannot be taught. If I were a parent, and I am a parent, if my child in the 8th grade, I would definitely be going to the school. I would definitely be working with the school board, and I definitely would have a problem with that.
What if the school board, if it doesn't do anything about it, then do you have to appeal to the state?
I don't want this. I don't want a governor telling colleges what classes they can teach.
This isn't colleges. This is
no, and even the 8th grade
school.
Yeah, no, I don't think the governor should be telling schools what they can teach in the 8th grade. I would have a problem with that, but that's school board. And then you elect people to your school board.
If you had a child between the ages of 10 and 12, and the teacher was providing them instruction on how to use anonymous gay sex apps, would you call the police on that teacher?
I would definitely go to the principal right away.
So here's the problem with this entire conversation, and let's see if we've missed Trump. Trump is not here yet. Here's the problem with this conversation. What Marianne, I think, is doing wrong here is she's trying to reframe the conversation in a logical way, but isn't actually succeeding at doing it. So Tim Pool asking about 10 to 12-year-olds and sex apps or whatever, or a particular book, The problem with the entire book thing is I don't know anyone on the left, and certainly not me, who is saying there is no limit to what reading material should not be either in a library or part of the curriculum. But they benefit from mushing all this stuff together. And they mix together something is in a high school library versus something is part of the second grade curriculum, when these are completely different things. Sometimes they talk about materials that would be inappropriate for a 7-year-old, but they're talking about it being in a high school. So why are we talking about 7-year-olds? It's in a high school. So my approach on this is say, listen, it is a legitimate thing to say not all content is age appropriate for kindergarten through 12th grade. That it's not all appropriate. There are things appropriate in 11th grade that are not appropriate in 4th grade or whatever the case may be. That's number one. And so there should be an age appropriateness here. It's not up to parents to decide ultimately. It's up to professionals to decide, but parents should have involvement in it. Parents, guardians, right? They should be engaged with what the reading materials are. It's important to differentiate between something that is in the library versus something that is assigned as part of the curriculum. There should be a transparency with regard to what are the materials, and there should be a process if a parent says, I believe this material is not appropriate. But part of the transparency thing is you can't use the rules of challenging and whatever to disproportionately eliminate stuff where it is LGBT that is mentioned, even though it's no more graphic than what you might see about a straight couple in a material, or disproportionately authors of color, even though the substance may be no different. There should be a transparency as to what are the standards for which age. And it's really important not to fall into these. What if there was a book for a 10-year-old that depicts how to perform oral sex? Is there such a book? Is it in the library or is it being assigned? Who's allowed to check it out? Where is the book? What is the book? Who's assigning it? Who approved that book? And by the way, and I see people in the chat, in so many of these cases, as soon as you read through the rubrics for what isn't allowed, there's no way in hell the Bible should be allowed. And yet it is in so many of these cases. And this isn't all about these are hypocrites. The Bible shouldn't be there if any. It happens to be like a bonus bit of hypocrisy. But I don't think it's the primary thing. I don't know about teaching a 10-year-old about gay apps, but give me what's on the curriculum for 16-year-olds, and then I'll tell you whether I think it's appropriate. But I'm not a professional educator. We should defer mostly to the professional educators and have a process where parents can say, I don't think this is appropriate. Maybe a parent says, I don't want my kid participating in this particular thing. But I think we can leave it there. I think I've made my point.